Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is Two Up and Two Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us
Welcome
off.
back, Thirsty fans. We got the Soup Nazi, a season 7 episode. And Chris, what do you have for your first up?
Soup Nazi, 2 up, 2 down. You know the drill here. We got to find 2 ups and 2 downs of every episode of Seinfeld. This is a Spike Feresten. 33 million people watched. I would say one of the most well-known Seinfeld episodes of all time. That we can agree on. So let's find a couple ups here. For me, it's going to be Jerry eating the soup back at his apartment in front of George. I always like that. He's like so into it. He's like, so good. How does he do it? And obviously George is sitting there very frustrated. Obviously he just got kicked out of the Ev's place there. So for me, that's my first up. Jerry eating the soup and just like, obviously annoying George, so into it, enjoying his soup.
Yeah, great scene there. I love that one too. So yeah, great up. All right, Tony, over to you. What's your first up?
Yeah, and O'Hara threw me a softball here. I'm gonna grab as my up from the Soup Nazi. Allie Wentworth, Jerry's girlfriend there, Sheila, the schmoopy. She makes some great faces. She does a great job with schmoopy. We know her from A Living Color. Check out she had a great show called Head Case that was on for a couple of seasons. That was great. Also, married to Stephanopoulos, whatever his name is there, friends with Jerry, the whole thing. Love the schmoopy. This episode, we all know where this episode stands. Everyone loves the Soup Nazi and talks about the guy, ad nauseum. But in my book, the schmoopy is what makes this episode, tolerable, if you will. And that's going to be my first up. Is just the Allie Wentworth performance as Jerry's schmoopy girlfriend, and just you're the schmoopy, and classic scenes there with the two of them. I definitely enjoy that a lot. Very cutesy.
All right, very good. Yeah, I even marked down in my personal notes Allie Wentworth as an up. So good mention there. Chris, over to you. What's your second up?
Good one there. I do enjoy Allie. She's really great, but we'll get into some of that 2 ups in a second. Oh, man.
What is that there you're drinking?
Yeah, but this is Magic Mind. You guys heard of Magic Mind?
Oh yeah, I think I did hear about that. I think it might have been on Rogan's podcast.
Probably on Rogan's. Great stuff. Listen, I'm a big coffee drinker. This has become my new go-to. Yeah, listen, this podcast is very stressful, as you guys know. We got to come to two ups, 2 downs on some of the most famous episodes. And just having a drink like this, I don't know if you guys know this. There's matcha in here, turmeric, and the stuff I love, the ashwagandha. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the ashwagandha. That's supposed to relax you. No inflammation, right?
It relaxes me. I have this every day. I've had it for 5 straight days now with the coffee. 100% better. I mean, it's unbelievable. So, for our listeners out there, go to magicmind.com, type in Seinfeld Podcast 20. You'll get 20% off this stuff. And I'm telling you, I feel so good. During this podcast, I feel great. There's nothing stressing me out anymore. I just feel upbeat, the whole thing. And I can't wait to talk more Seinfeld, all because of Magic Mind. Great stuff.
Yeah, it does seem like you got a little bit of pep in your step. I'll tell you that. I think it has a little bit of caffeine in it too. Give you that extra oomph there in these. Get a little animated there in these 2 ups. I like it.
A little animated. And, I can't do coffee that much anymore. It's tough on the stomach. This stuff's all natural. Love it. One of our new sponsors. So for all listeners out there, go check out magicmind.com for your 20% off. All right, folks, let me get back into ups. Now that I took my shot, I'm ready to go. So second up, I'm going to go with, you mentioned Sheila there, Allie Wentworth, and this is just a small carve out of what you described. But when George and Susan come into Monk's, sitting on the same side of the booth, which always bothers me as well. I've ever seen a couple on the same side. I think of George here. And then obviously them going at it. And you want to tuna fishy? Like, I got a chuckle out of it. Again, and I'll get to this. Some of these ups turn into downs. But for me, I'll give tuna fishy wishy and, the whole thing my second up for the Soup Nazi.
All right, thanks, Chris. And yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to ordering some of that Magic Mind. So thanks for sharing that with us. Tony, over to you. What's your second up?
Yeah, I love sitting on the same side of the booth. I was going to use that. I just kind of went with Wentworth, but a little tuna fishy is a great line too. Uh, you know, don't have a lot of ups. That kind of took both of them there. The one I used, the one he just used. Um, I got two other ones I can kind of pull from here. You know what? This is what we do on episodes that might not be that strong for us. We try and find one-liners. This one keeps popping off the page of me off my notes I wrote down. Did the K-Man do it or did the K-Man do it? I love that line by Kramer. Maybe the Elaine get out is played out, if you will, but it delivers there when Kramer just did the K-Man do it or the K-Man do it? Elaine's like, the K-Man did it. Knocks him down. He's talking from the ground. I mean, yes, the get out might be played out, but if we're talking like what gives me a bump in this episode, what kind of gives me a chuckle, what's going to be an up, I use that line a lot. Did the K-Man do it or the K-Man do it? It's not quite, who wants to have some fun? Kramer coming in, in the old marine biologist episode. Let's get carried away here. But it is a good, solid up. K-Man's always going to deliver, even in a maybe not so great episode. And in this case, I think he delivers. That's my next up.
All right, yeah, thanks, Tony. So now we're going to do some downs. First down with you, Chris. What do you have?
Yeah, did enjoy that line from Kramer. Elaine pushing him was a little much. I know that's her thing, but a little much. There's a decent amount here. I'm trying to figure which way to go and save some for the grade, but you know what? I'm gonna go George. I mean, what's his storyline here? I mean, this is George Costanza, and he's kind of a tag along. Like he's just walking along with Jerry to get the soup. He's going in, and then too much with Susan, and like there was just too much with Susan. Like after that whole thing I just described with the same side of the booth, but it just felt kind of odd. George he didn't really have any good lines. He didn't really have a story. It's odd for George to be a tag along. He's George Costanza. He's one of the greatest characters of all time, and this is one of the greatest episodes of all time, according to Pink Hat Fans. So George just nothing was there for him, and there should have been something there for him. And for me, that was a big miss. So Costanza first down.
All right, so yeah, not a big story arc for George here. All right, Tony, over to you. What's your first down?
Lot to choose from. It's hard though because is there a lot to choose from, or is there really just like a lot of it, right? Like, where am I zeroing in to actually call out downs? And I did find one that I do have to call out. I'll start with it, I suppose. And you know what? Pink Hats come at us. The Street Toughs, that's my first down. I know O'Hara's probably on the same boat here. I probably stole one of his, but enough is enough with these guys. They bring them back for the old the ribbon, and everyone's supposed to laugh at that. I didn't like them the first time. I don't like them the second time. Just these guys, I don't know how they became funny to people. They were never funny to me from the get-go. I mean, Kramer's going to back down to these clowns? I don't know, man. It never sat well with me. The whole thing, they just steal it on more off the street. These, whatever they, not that there's anything wrong with that, but these guys, I don't love them. Never did. The Street Toughs, bullying Kramer to stealing the armoire. Never sat well with me. Never was really that funny for me. The whole thing with him watching them on the first, did he sleep there at night? I don't even know what's going on. Why is he out there? Enough is enough. She can't bring it upstairs. Are you kidding me? And by the way, does she live in a brownstone? I never understood that one either. It's not like a building. Like, where's Elaine getting all this money from? Anyway, those are all side notes. Point is, I don't like the Street Toughs, and that's my down.
Yeah, I never liked the fact that that Kramer backed down to the Street Toughs because he was hoarding his own blood so that he could throw down with these guys when it got tough out there. So, all right, good point there, Tony. Chris, over to you. What's your first down?
Yeah, not only that, I mean, you just mentioned one scene. These guys are in two scenes. Crazy. Man, there's Magic Mind. I got to calm down. Let me get some Magic Mind. Oh, that's good. Refreshing. All right. You mentioned Schmoopy, okay? Guess what? Enough with Schmoopy. We had 28 mentions of Schmoopy. Again, it's called the Soup Nazi. That was enough. Okay, I don't need a whole nother. Oh, like maybe a scene of that, and then like the awkwardness, obviously with Jerry and George. And I get it. Yeah, I don't like that stuff either. But I mean, we talk about seasons 8 and 9 beating a dead horse. I think this is kind of, they're building that, and boy, did they build it. I mean, 28 mentions of some Schmoopy. It was funny the first time. 28th time, not so much. So Schmoopy down.
I hear you. It was a bit much. So, Tony, over to you. What's your second down?
Yeah, second down is going to be Larry Thomas, the Soup Nazi, and we got to call it out. I'm calling it out. Enough of this guy. This guy's been riding the Soup Nazi since this episode. Well, one of the only. Seinfeld was the biggest show of all time. Ohio could probably name the numbers of this one: 30 million people watching, whatever it is. As he mentioned, one of the most popular episodes of all time. Right? How many guest stars have we talked to throughout the Seinfeld lore that have been amazing guest stars, amazing people who never, ever, rehash their character, bring it up? Like, even someone like Peterman who could easily do it, or even a Newman who could easily do it, right? This guy's been living off Soup Nazi for God knows how long. And the Soup Nazi, the real Soup Nazi, lived off this whole thing for how long? I mean, Spike Ferriston, they owe him a royalty check for crying out loud. He took one little thing. He used to go get soup every day. And next thing you know, this is the biggest thing of all time. I'm done with it. I'm done with the guy that played the Soup Nazi. I'm done with the Soup Nazi. Watching it again today, I just realized, like, I'm trying to understand the appeal from the Pink Hat fans, and you know what? Like, even if you want to laugh at a few of the things, like you're pushing your luck, little man, or adios, muchacho, right? A couple of quick liners here and there, but to O'Hara's point, if Schmoopy's not played out, the Soup Nazi was even more played out. How many times Elaine got to come back in there? And then and this is what the kicker is for me as we're on this before we get to grades. They ruined Newman and they ruined Banya. They got to slip them into this thing too, force them into this thing just to give Banya something. What are you doing here? What are we doing here? You're ruining those two guys, bringing them into the soup thing. Jambalaya, everyone loves the Jambalaya line, but more. You want to give him the Jambalaya line, fine, but then they bring Newman back at the end, which I forgot about. So I rewatched it today when the Soup Nazi's closing up shop and giving away his soup, and Newman's getting a pot and running down the street. Anyway, that's my down. The episode, the Soup Nazi, the title character is my down, and come at us, folks.
Wow, big down there. Okay, not going to piggyback off that, but Chris, what do you have to say about that, or your own down?
Man, Tony bringing it today. He could use a sip of this Magic Mind stuff. So let me tell you, and he's going outside the episode, which is interesting. But we're allowed to do that here. We're allowed to do that on this podcast. Make me thirsty. What are we doing? Grades? Yeah, I did my downs. Listen, we talk about early seasons and foundation, and then there's foundations for the later seasons. Okay, so hear me out here. And that's what this episode represented. Sure, Jambalaya, he mentioned it. Newman running like an idiot, like ha ha ha, tuna fishy, all that stuff. I mean, at its surface, no one really had a poor episode, if that makes sense, right? But you mentioned no soup for you, okay? I mentioned Schmoopy 28 times. Are you talking to me? How many catchphrases do we need in one episode? And I know the Pink Cats, the lines of the year, new soap for you. You talking to me? No, the lines are the ones, my partner here mentioned. Did the K-Man do it? The K-Man do it, right? That's what we want. And that's not catchphrasey, okay? And you mentioned Banya. Here's my question. I mentioned no one was really down per se. We could throw a lane, but who of the four elevated this show to make this an all-timer that people talk about? Help me out here. Which are the four? So to me, and it's like, I don't know. And not only that, there's not much relatability to this show. Yes, I know there was a soup guy that had this, but like, and I don't know, maybe Posa and Nanuet, you get a little scared, but no one's kicking you out. You know what I mean? There's no related. It wasn't relatable. Um, and the Pink Hats will say, "Well, that's what made it so funny." No, that's not what made it so funny. So for me, the Soup Nazi is a D plus. It set the tone for what we were going to get later. To Tony's point, it made Ferris, it made all these guys right, but for me, it represents more than what the actual show was. It set the tone for what was to come. Soup Nazi is a D plus.
All right. Thank you, Chris. And Tony, what's your grade here?
That is some analysis, folks. Yeah, to just a couple of things there, just to touch on before I give my grade, which I love, is the Posa reference, which anyone from our neck of the woods would get. But it's actually a Colin Quinn stand-up bit on New York Story, which I absolutely love, when he says it's in New York, there's two lines: one for people who know what they want, and one for people who don't know what they want. You know what you want, get over there. Who's next? You don't know what you want, you over. That's the joke. The Soup Nazi takes it to this whole other thing, like O'Hara mentioned. Like we don't need no soup for you. That's the joke. It's New York City. You don't know what you want. Move over. Who's next? Come on, let's go. Fine, I get that. All right. I think O'Hara nailed every point on this one. That was a great analysis. I wrote kind of the same things down. It's not season 8 and 9, but it's showing us what's to come, which he touched on. He's right. There's nothing that's so terrible bringing everything down. There's just also nothing so good bringing anything up. I did love, which I didn't mention, I like George bringing back up, we had a pact. He just kind of brings that up. He's a little bit nudging Jerry again, like, you took my hand. If I want to throw another up out there. But yeah, I mean, that's what this episode is. It's catchphrases. It's kooky characters. There's no soup for you all over the freaking place. This is not the sign. This is a sign of things to come, as Chris mentioned, and that's really what this is all about. And it's kind of the start of the downfall. And I actually landed on the same grade. I gave it a D plus. I'm not going to give it an F because of the things we just mentioned. It's not the worst episode of all time, but it's just bad enough and not good enough, if that makes sense. It's neither of the two. Schmoopy can only carry it so far. As Chris mentioned, it probably actually starts to bring it down at some point. I got the same grade. I got D plus for the Soup Nazi. I was trying to get it higher to a C minus. I just can't do it. And yeah, that's where we're landing. D plus, both of us, Soup Nazi.
All right. Well, there you go. There you have it, folks. D plus for both Tony and Chris. And I think those were a fair analysis of the Soup Nazi episode. So thank you again. And we'll see everybody on the next episode.